All right, hi. My name is Kel Pessel. I'm here now with DMB, Gabe. How are you known in the HCN
Gabriel.
community now? Gabe.
I think DMB is probably fine. I
Okay,
think
DMB.
Gabe has been, hijacked by the other Gabe,
Co-opted, right?
Yeah.
All right, so yeah, I'm just talking to people about why they think, why they think they spent so much time playing HQM. That's sort of the goal and motivation. Talking about what motivates us and what motivates us to compete and stuff like that. So can you just, if you, in your own words, describe what HQM is?
I think it's fun.
Great. Okay.
And I think that in short it's fun, and I think that it's fun in a way that really nothing else really is. And I think that's why it's so captivating.
Okay.
There's really
So
nothing else like HQM.
right. So on that note, what first initially drew you to play HQM?
Well, I just love hockey. Like that's it.
And
Like you have to I feel like you can't really enjoy HQM. Well, there's definitely people who play HQM who don't love hockey like as a sport, I think. Like Baba, for instance. I don't think Baba has ever watched a game of ice hockey in his life, but that guy's put in as much time into HQM as anybody, maybe if not more.
right. So on that note, I didn't track hours. I don't know. Like I didn't ever track
I
my
definitely
hours.
don't track my
But if
hours.
you had to give a guess as to how many hours you spent playing HQM, like all told, what would be your ballpark on that number?
Probably more than 4,000 hours, I'd say.
Right.
More than 4,000, less than 6,000 in that range, I think.
Okay. And you spent most of your time probably playing back in 20, was it 13 that you started?
2013 to 20, like, when did I kind of stop? I think 2019, 2018 is when I kind of stopped.
So the large bulk of around you said 4,000 to 6,000 hours spent in 5 years.
Yeah.
Um, so what kept you playing past that initial I like hockey draw? Like what got you to like the 100-hour mark to the 200 to the 300-hour mark?
I think it was the homies playing at night that I was playing with all the time. I had more friends who were like outside of the LHL community than I had in the LHL community, I think.
And did you ever practice like on your own?
Yeah. Like I think when I was playing HQM regularly, I was just playing it like all the time. Like if I was watching a YouTube video or listening to music or whatever, like HQM is definitely a game that you can, multitask with.
Right. And so then the sort of the crux, like the crux, nice word. The question that sort of naturally follows for someone who isn't in HQM would be, so you can do a lot of things while absent-minded, right? Why choose to engage in, like, what was it about practicing HQM that, like, what was satisfying about that? Was it towards a larger goal, or was it just literally like it felt fun to mess around and do stuff?
I don't know if I ever really practiced trying really hard to get better. I feel like I just enjoyed playing the game on its own. And like obviously like, I feel like naturally I got better at it, but I don't think I ever really sat down and I was like, I'm gonna practice HQM. I'm gonna work on my wrist shot. I'm gonna work on I never really did that personally. And not to take away from anybody who did do that, but I think I just kind of enjoyed just skating around and stick handling and shit.
Not to sort of.
Or like pugging, like passing to people. Just like it was just fun just to screw around.
Right. And so yeah, not to like take away from the differences here, and not to like diminish that important difference because it is important. But at the same time, you still did spend all that time playing. So in that sense, like regardless of being sort of having a conscious effort or not, you would say that you still obviously you still improved because
Yeah.
you were
Yeah.
for a long period of time. I mean, how many seasons would you say you were one of the top 10 players? Like, I mean, and that's
Not
and
for I feel like not for like top 10 players.
yeah.
I feel like most of the seasons I played I was probably top 10.
And that's I mean that's again that's like 6 or 7 years of like solid.
Yeah.
um and when it came down to it, you've played
Mhm.
other competitive games, right? Like you play, I know you play
Yeah.
CS:GO and I know you play other stuff.
Mhm.
So why not do those things instead of doing this specifically?
I think that those games require more attention than HQM does. I think the HQM's simplicity really plays a role in that.
Interesting.
Yeah.
That's very interesting. Okay. So let me characterize this, and then you. I feel like I'm debating now. I feel like I'm doing like
Oh
you know when
yeah.
people debate and they do like
Oh
the
yeah.
characterization thing.
Oh yeah.
Let me characterize this just so that I understand it. So that I think I'm understanding it, and like people understand it. So what you're saying is that sort of the fact that you were
Excuse me.
interested initially, that's okay, the fact that you were interested initially in hockey and stuff brought you to this game, and then it was just so happened to be this unique level of fun because of the physics and because of the fact that it was very
The
niche and
physics, the perspective, the simplicity, all of it was very. It was perfect, bro. Perfect storm of a
okay,
game that you
right,
can launch and run in a window. It's super low res.
yep,
You
yep.
can run it and play another game probably at the same time if that's like what you wanted to do. And I'm sure I've done that before.
Okay, so interesting. So this sort of runs in some opposition to other ways that people look at the game, and also is an interesting difference in how I was approaching what was motivating people. But what's sort of so then for me, the next question is what motivated you to compete? So to play in tournaments and to play on teams and to try and win.
I think that it was fun. And especially me because like the main way that you would play HQM usually would be, pickup games where you're just fucking screwing around and you're not really trying to do anything. Like you're not trying to win necessarily. And it's nice, and honestly it makes pugging more fun if you're playing seriously at the same time. I feel.
Right.
I just like to compete. I like to try to win stuff. It's fun.
Right. So when it comes to the reasoning behind playing the tournaments and the LHL, it was that it's just more fun to try and win because
I enjoy being on a team as well. I think that also is a big part of it for me.
like the social aspect of.
Yeah, I like being on a team very much.
Did you feel like you did you feel like you would ever lose a game or lose a couple of games and then feel the need to practice because you have lost, like, and then you wanted to get better in that way?
Sure. And I definitely felt like, I was doing things like warming up and stuff and like making sure like showing up for scrims, doing stuff like that. Like I was always trying to like, I think it was less about me wanting to be better and more about not wanting to let anybody down. Like it wasn't really about me. It was about everybody else and their like, you know, perceived expectations of me, right?
That's awesome. I was talking we were talking about that before. I was talking about those other people. Um, and I felt the same way. I felt two ways. I felt that sometimes I was expected by other people to be the carry, and so I felt bad for other people if I couldn't help us win. And then the flip side is at other times in my career, I was the last person to get picked, or I was the last starting member of the team, and so I felt this need to prove myself and prove people wrong. Did you ever feel that sensation, like having to prove people wrong playing?
No, not really. Not necessarily.
Right, but you did feel a responsibility, or a sort
Just to my
of.
teammates, just like a duty to my teammates to like, be a good teammate, help us win, and not be like a piece of shit, basically.
Okay, so man, these get complicated quick because I like talking about this stuff, and I think it is really interesting. So the other thing that was connected to this was lots of people will spend tons of time on other hobbies like or other competition based hobbies, and they do it for there's a variety of reasons. I was doing some initial research, just some base level research, more as like a trying to be a quote unquote journalist rather than trying to be a psychologist, but just doing some research on motivation and what makes people want to do things. And one of the things that was there was a couple of things that were really important. I'm trying to tap into what might have connected you in that way, not trying to not trying to diagnose it or anything, like not trying to ascribe something to you.
Diagnose me.
Not trying
No, go
seriously,
on.
not trying to ascribe something so do you think one of the very key things is people will derive a sense of self-worth not necessarily from the action that they are doing. So let's say if it's chess, they don't want to be good at chess, but they think they're intelligent and they think their intelligence reflects in chess. So for you, did you feel like there was any, if you reflect on it, do you feel like there was any self-worth tied into being good at this game at all or competing in this game? And you did mention about, being a good teammate. So is that like a sense of self-worth? Like part of my self-worth as a person is being a good teammate in
Yeah,
this case, or
I think that I could summarize it very simply in just being liked.
being liked?
Yeah,
Okay, so it was like
definitely.
you had that desire to be liked in this social situation,
Yeah, exactly. I definitely like want to be a good teammate, want to be cool with everybody, like,
and part of that was
Exactly.
being part of that was practicing so that
Yeah.
you wouldn't let people down. But you didn't
Yeah.
feel this desire to be the best player. Did you ever feel a desire to be the best player?
Not really. No.
Right.
I
Do
think
you,
those seasons where I was really, really good, it just kind of just happened because, it was circumstantial.
interesting. Um, okay. Uh, do you feel like the fact that people were relatively close in skill level contributed to your desire to keep playing? Like that like the fact that it was competitive in of itself, like would you have enjoyed like stomping teams over and over again, or do you think like the fact that it was close really led to you being interested and engaged?
I think closeness definitely makes things more engaging. I don't feel strongly about stomping or getting stomped. Like, that doesn't really affect my morale one way or the other.
Clearly, I mean, we were on some teams together.
Yeah, listen, man, I don't want to talk about it.
Right.
Good question. Next question.
Well, actually, I do want to talk about this a little bit because I have this personal connection to you in that way, and I think this is really interesting because I think at the time we both viewed the game in the same way. Initially, when I started, I did not view the game this way. Then by the time we made those like 3 or 4 teams in a row together, I think we viewed the game the same way, which was I would like to win, but I would actually rather have fun. Does that seem like a fair characterization of like how you
Yeah,
felt?
yeah, definitely, for sure.
Because we made these teams where we were bad. We
Winning is always fun. Well, actually, that's not even true. Sometimes winning is less fun than losing. I'm gonna be honest. But yeah, I would agree with you.
because if you didn't enjoy it, you probably would have just said, "Please do
Yeah,
not
I
draft
definitely.
me."
Yeah, I would have just stopped signing up.
Well, you could have just thought. You also could have just said, "Don't draft me." I would have been like, "Okay."
Yeah,
But yeah, no, I think we both at that time had the same approach to it, which was that this is fun. I want to do it for the community. I don't want to troll. Like I'm not trying to intentionally be bad, but it's so I'm sort of indifferent on winning or losing.
yeah. I think that it definitely became, and I think definitely during the latter seasons, it was more like I just wanted to kick it and show up for the game and support it because I know that I can sign up and play like, and I want there to be people playing the game, you know. And it's like no trouble for me to sign up and show up for a game or two. Like, I don't really give a shit.
Right. Yeah. So yeah. The other question I had. So some people are going to take a look at playing a game like this, and there are lots of reasons for why this would be the case. And I think even in the community, like our community, we say the same things to each other, which is it is a waste of time or it is a negative to spend as many hours as we did on this game. Do you view it when you reflect on it as a negative thing that you spent so much time on the game?
No, and I'm not really sure why. I feel like that's like self-deprecating. Really, I feel like people just kind of like to roast themselves. I think that most of the people who are talking about it have made good friendships from it, have had good experiences. I really don't think that it's like, I don't regret playing HQM.
Right. Yeah.
Like, I think on the list of like things you've done in your life, if HQM is one of the things that you regret doing in your life, then you have had a very cushy life, bro. I love that for you.
I like that. I really like that response. So I'm going to take a moment to think about what I wanted to ask because now I'm thinking about your response because I really like it. Um, um, yeah, just give me a second.
I mean, take your time, buddy.
Do you find that you took away applicable skills for yourself from your time in HQM?
Absolutely not.
Okay, so no
And I think
applicable.
that like there's even some games that if you put time into them, they will make you better at other games. I feel like HQM has no transferable skills whatsoever. And I would love for someone to prove me wrong or like have a counterpoint to that. If there's a game that you've gotten better at or something that you've gotten better at from HQM, like playing HQM, hell yeah, brother. But like I don't think it made me any better at anything.
What about the personal development that might have happened spending time in the community, like referring, specifically to
I think
engaging?
the only personal development that I got out of it was just the fact that when I started playing I was 20 fucking 1 and now I'm not a 21-year-old anymore. And I feel like that was going to happen anyway
Right,
cuz I mean, I was definitely a shit bird when I was on the shithawks for sure.
right. So in that way, reflecting on your time, it seems like for you, HQM became pretty much just the quintessential fun video game.
Vast majority of my time in HQM was spent at like midnight in pugs with like 3 or 4 people just like passing it around, just like pissing away time basically. And I loved that.
Do you think that there is um, do you think that the fact that it was competitive and had those league systems and stuff, did that make a significant difference in your connection to the game? If there was only ever pugs, or if there was only ever those 4 people playing or 5 people playing, would that have, how significantly do you think that would or would not impact how long you played?
I think that the leagues being in place definitely made the game last longer because there were more people playing it. And I don't think many people would have kept playing the game if there weren't leagues to play in. For me personally, I don't think that the LHL or the HQML or whatever really kept me in the game on their own. But in the capacity that they allowed more people to come and play and participate in just the game period, definitely kept me in the game longer. But like guess in an indirect fashion.
Right. So in a hypothetical world where people would keep playing, no matter what, it would you wouldn't have been the type of
I think
person.
in the hypothetical situation where there were no leagues and people were still playing the game, I think I would prefer that.
Interesting. That's very interesting. Okay. So now I'm coming at this from a because what my thought process was thinking about HQM was that at its core, it's a competitive experience. And I even characterized it as such with Dial, for example. So for you, at its core, HQM is like like it just, it's, I mean, I'll just let you finish that sentence if you think, like, if you can. Like, HQM at its core is blank. Like, it's a,
I think that I feel like I agree with you and Dial, and I don't think that contradicts my thought process either.
right. But your personal experience of it was more through the lens of the way someone might enjoy,
A shoot
like,
around.
sure, perfect. Yeah.
Yeah.
Interesting. Do you find that you're that way with everything else? I mean, not every, well, with games or any other like competitive pursuits. I don't know if you ever like did,
No.
whatever.
No, definitely not.
Uh, so when it comes to like CS, for example, do you find yourself putting in practice to get better yourself, or is
When
it
I was actively playing that game, trying to win league games, I was practicing and like I was definitely putting in more time to like be better and more actively too than I was when I was playing HQM, I think.
right? So you have that, you have, um, because my thought process and my assumption would be that because you had that drive and you enjoyed playing CS, and I know that you're high level, it's like relatively high level at CS, that would have been my assumption about how you played HQM. But I think I'm learning something actually about you, which is that those were two separate worlds.
I think I just never took HQM that seriously because of how unserious HQM really is, like at its core. Like, yeah, you're right, it's a competitive game, but I think that it's just very unserious, man.
I'm not gonna challenge you on it, but I want to talk about it in a way that I'm wondering what makes it unserious. So I'm not trying to like say you're wrong. I just want to, if you think you have like a reason why you think it's unserious in comparison to something like Counter Strike. Is it just that Counter Strike there is the possibility to one day make money doing it, or
I
there's more
think
people, or
I think that's definitely a part of it. I think that um there's much more reality in Counter Strike, and like you have to pay league fees if you're playing at a higher level. Like there's actual like investment of money and time going into Counter Strike versus HQM is just for us. It was always just for us. It was for us, you know? And that's actually pretty amazing when you really think about it. Like the amount of HQM content there is, the amount of like mods and all this shit, it's all just for us. It's for us. It's really for nobody else. Like all the face off podcasts, all the fucking fuckery, like it's all for us, bro. Like that's it. Like nobody else is watching it.
right? And I agree with you, and I think there are there's plenty of analogous hobbies in the world, niche among niche. There's plenty of analogous hobbies in the world where people are doing them purely for their own engagement and enjoyment. So I'm trying right now in my head to keep stuff straight, and I don't want to make you repeat yourself too often. And I think I'm nearing the end of what I was interested in, but I do want to just go back to. I do just want to go back to when you say when you said you had this desire to not let teammates down. Why did why do those opinions matter from your teammates? Like, why does it, what, because you could choose at any time to simply disengage, especially if you're not particularly like driven towards the leagues themselves, as you've said. So, what really was it, just that you were frequently on teams with friends and stuff, or?
Well, I think that I was not always on teams with friends, but at the end of the season, I think I was always friends with people who I was on a team with. I feel. Um, I feel like. What was the question again? You kind of rambled a little bit, man. I ain't gonna lie to you.
Um,
It was a bit
yeah,
long-winded.
yeah.
Cut it
So,
short.
um, so what made you want to practice for the sake of being liked by those people? What about their judgment of you would did you care about? Like, what reasoning did you care about their judgment?
I think it was mostly the fact that I think in most of the seasons that I played, I was picked pretty high, and I feel like that. It's like you said earlier in the conversation, like you felt pressure to either carry or to disprove expectations, and I felt like I had pressure to perform for people and be the guy and not let people down. And in a roundabout way, I feel like I just wanted them to, I just wanted to be cool and I didn't want to let people down.
Right. Yeah. No. That's totally like that is pretty much pretty much how I think many most if not all people are going to feel that way about whatever they engage in, right? Like they don't want to let people down if there's an expectation on them, especially when you know the people, know them as well as you can know them online, right?
Yeah.
So I think the last sort of thing, there are two last things. So I'll start with the first one. When you think about the day to day of it, if you can go back and reflect on the like a day in your heyday, in your prime, where you're playing HQM, what made you want to open up the game? Was it just that dopamine hit of I'm playing and having fun?
Yeah, I think that it was addicting in that way. It was fun to, and there's like layers to it. Like it was fun to play defense. It was fun to set people up. It was fun to nip a fucking sick Geno dude. Like it was just fun. Fun to shoot around. Fun to play in a pug. It was fun to play on teams.
I see now I have a connecting question to that. I'm sorry to
I mean, keep it going. I'm not tripping.
that fun time. How many other places in your life do you feel like you get that experience of like there is this multi-layered ability, like I have the ability to do stuff, I'm learning how to do stuff, and I'm sharing that with others? Do you find that you get that satisfaction? You don't have to answer this.
Definitely not. Definitely not. Definitely not.
So
I feel
HQM sort of.
like definitely HQ's on a short list, and to be honest, I can't think of like many things off the top of my head that like have offered me that. It really hit multiple notes for sure. For me, definitely.
And you feel that's just a sort of like, I don't want to boil it down, but that's just like a sort of chemical like dopamine style thing, or you really don't. Because we talked about this earlier. You really don't take any. Oh, I learned something about myself, or oh, I was able to express myself, or oh, I was able to, so on and so
No.
on. So it's truly, it's for you. It's truly just like the rat in a cage pressing the button.
Yeah, definitely.
Interesting. Okay, it's interesting. Um, so then the last thing, and I asked, I'm asking people to do this. The last thing I'll say is, if you had to sort of give me the like punchline, the the advertisement line where like I get people to come and watch, and I say like, what what motivated me to play HQM was blank. Can you fill in can you fill in that blank?
Probably friends. I feel like if I hadn't made the connections with Iskin and Baba and Molerat and fucking Dopey G used to come in on at night and play with us a lot. Like if in Bojarzen, if we all hadn't been kicking it for like months at a time every night, then I definitely wouldn't have been playing as much. I wouldn't have played for as long as I did. And I think uh that's going to be the consensus, I think. Because the game it's all about us. Like if there was nobody playing the game, then none of us would be playing it, and it's all about everybody who we're playing with, basically.
Okay. Well, I'm sorry, and I also lied to you because I also have one more thing that I've asked people to do, and I forgot about it, so that's my fault. Do you think there's anything that you haven't talked about, and you can be specific about it, or just like give me the general like, yes, there is something I haven't talked about. Other reasons, other motivations that you have seen or that you would think about that you didn't have, but people might have that made them play the game.
I think we've covered people's drive to be good at the game, right? And
Yeah,
like their
yeah.
competitive nature. Um, I'm not really sure. Maybe, definitely, like people are very controlling and weird, and I feel like there's definitely I'm always gonna look sideways at people who want to be in power positions over things that are meaningless. Like fucking Reddit moderators, Discord server owners. I think that a big driving force behind a lot of things is just like people wanting to be in control.
Interesting. Yeah, well, that's what I was interested in. I think that yeah, I think it was interesting. So I really appreciate you taking the time. You didn't have to, but I really appreciate it, and it was nice to catch. It was nice to talk.
Anything for you, buddy. Anything for you, buddy.
So yeah, I'm gonna let that go.
Manufacturing consent episode 4 coming soon.
Yeah, yeah.